A big thanks to Cheddo Chef for sponsoring this episode.
How do you know something is really good? When it gets stolen. That's the answer. I'm gonna make a delicious steak for you guys, and I'm gonna pair it with a sauce that is so rich in history that somewhere along the line it got stolen and it got better. But before we go there, we're gonna fire up the Cheddo Chef Boma grill. I'm gonna start by making some kindle out of birch. Birch is highly inflammable, very light. It's the stuff that matches are made for, and it's perfect to fire up any type of wood fire that you want. And it also goes for big smokers. So no need to use chemicals, all natural. Build it up in a square. This is the guaranteed way to have sufficient airflow. I'm gonna put in some shavings from the bark, light that up. Whoa, look at it. This is not the star of the show. This is just a steak, but it is a pretty fine steak. And this video, of course, is all gonna be about that sauce that I'm talking about. But come on, let's appreciate this beautiful thing. This is a skirt steak. And I'm gonna show you how you can prepare the steak and then put on your grill so that it matches what we're going to do with the sauce. The plan is to cook this steak like Japanese people. Did you know that in Japan they have a stronger barbecue history than anywhere in the world, and they still apply it? Even though we might think yakitori is something that is, well, something local in our restaurants. In Japan, they have been grilling everything they eat over charcoal for years and years. And the masters still do it the exact same way they did it thousands of years ago. They never lost it. We just got a little sidetracked here in Europe, in America, but now we're getting back to the way things are supposed to be. But to cook it the way the Japanese do is by using skewers over the fire. So I got myself a forked skewer that's going to help me cook this steak the way it's been done for thousands of years. Maybe we even used to do this in Europe too, but we forgot about it. It's like they do in New York. Forget about it. That's a dad joke. You like it? No? It's not good? Oh, sorry. You see what I'm doing right there? I'm building up that steak, skewering it every couple of centimeters, every inch, flipping it. And now I got a compact steak. If I want, I can spread it out just like that, have a big surface, and that all just depends on the fire. Now there's only one thing that you need to do when you want to grill this steak, and that is put on some seasoning. Normally I'm a big fan of seasoning afterwards, but I got another seasoning coming for afterwards. So for now, I'm going to season up front. Make sure I draw out some of that moisture that sits in the steak, especially on the surface. So I'm going to get a real nice chunky crust. Because all this fat that you see right here is going to render down, is going to drip into the charcoal, and it's going to get crispy as long as I put a little bit of seasoning on it. And if you're wondering, PitmasterX, you talk about finishing salts all the time. This is a finishing salt. In this case, I'm using Fleur de Sel, de Mer, but you can use any brand you like, just as long as it's really light. And if you taste it, it's not that heavy. Try that with table salt and you will find out what the difference is. I got this seasoned, this is ready to go. Now I'm gonna wait for my fire to burn down and then we can get started. Now I've got a beautiful bed of embers, but there's a problem with these embers. They are embers from the birch tree. When I put my steak on, they're going to disappear in less than 3 to 4 minutes. Even though they're giving off so much heat at the moment, it's not going to be enough for the full cook. So what am I going to do? I'm going to add some beech, or you can replace this with oak, but beech is my absolute favorite because this will give me the most beautiful embers you've ever seen, and they're going to last way longer. That's going to be much more effective to cook with. In the meantime, I'm going to show you what actually has been stolen in the 1960s. And strangely enough, it starts by chopping fine some garlic. I'm going to use about 4 tablespoons worth. And I'm going to chop fine the same amount of ginger. Then I'm going to warm up my Scotsburg pan over the fire. Add a 1/4 cup of peanut oil, the garlic, the ginger, a cup of cane sugar, 2 cups of soy sauce, a 1/4 cup of rice wine vinegar, a tablespoon of sesame oil, a 1/4 cup of cornstarch, and a 1/4 cup of water. And then all you need to do is stir. Let the cornstarch dissolve, let that connect with the water and all the rest of the ingredients, and then this sauce becomes something freaking amazing. Now, this sauce is now so good that it actually got stolen in the 1960s. Well, officially it wasn't really stolen, but this originated from Japan. This sauce was completely different. And when the Japanese came to Hawaii in the 1960s, the Hawaiians loved it so much, but they started adding sugar and pineapple and all kinds of sweet things to get that bitterness out of the soy sauce and turning it into what is now known as teriyaki sauce. Don't believe me? Google it, you will find out. I'm gonna set this sauce aside because now we need to grill the steak and finish up. And as you can see from my fire, we have embers at the bottom, so it's absolutely perfect for the technique that we're going to use. And the first step is going to be creating the perfect bed of embers. So I've got to break down the wood that is laying down, got to remove the big chunks, and then spread it out. So it's evenly divided, so you have as much control over the temperature as humanly possible. I'm just using the Japanese technique, and as you can see, that they have these grills that are made of clay, and you have about the same height. Perfection. You can use the Cheddar Chef Boma to cook on like a binchutan with like a yakinuki. I forget the word for that grill, but it doesn't really matter. You can do it on this grill. You're good to go. That is our steak. It's ready to go on, and look, it fits perfectly. And now you get the idea that I have of cooking over fire, just like the Japanese do. You hold it in your hand, you have control over the fire, you have a little bit of embers at the bottom, not too much, just a little bit of heat. And if you need, you can rotate, and as you can see, the searing process is going super fast, and that's why I have a real thin piece of meat. That is intentional. Japanese are light in their food, light in their ways, and they grill their steak and they grill their food just like they do with everything. They're light to the touch. Once the steak has enough caramelization on it and has built up its flavor, it's time to brush on that teriyaki sauce. And look, all that sugar sticking to the steak. It's allowed to caramelize, but it's not allowed to burn. So keep it well over the fire while it becomes hot. And if you see those little bubbles popping up on the steak, then you know you're hitting the sweet spot. We're trying to make candy here, because that's how the Hawaiians loved it so much. Look at that. Choyo. This is exactly how the Japanese like their grilled food. First, you grill the pure ingredient with maybe a little bit of seasoning, and then you brush on your favorite seasoning, which in this case is the teriyaki sauce. Now that is absolute perfect. We're just gonna give it a few moments, like maybe 5 minutes for the meat to rest, for the fat to render out, go back, make everything juicy again, and then, to finish it off, I'm gonna sprinkle on a little bit of spring onion and then a little bit of sesame seeds. This and a bowl of rice makes me perfectly happy. All right, let's slice into this. Whoa, that is one delicious looking steak. I want this piece. My vocabulary just reduced to so fantastic. Look, it looks like a snake. See, I'm all about sharing, but I rather share digitally than physically. Because it's just so good.